What is going on, y'all? Welcome to Outside the Brand.
What is that?
I know. What's going on, guys? It's time for Outside the Brand, episode number 95, and it's going to be a good time here. We're going to be talking about Roman Reigns and his Universal Championship situation and how things are going from here on out. We got obviously two members of the podcast here. This is a very special episode because he kind of requested it right here. And Bash, look at my man. Listen, you're here. You're here. I know, right? I know.
That was extravagant as all hell.
And of course, we got Anthony here, back for the second straight Tuesday in a row. We said that we could possibly be doing this every single Tuesday. So, Ant, great stuff. You're here, my man. How are you? What's been going on? And it's just another week of professional wrestling, isn't it?
Should call these like the Tuesday teardown. We need a name for these.
Been pretty good. Work's been kind of keeping me a little bit busier. So I'm just trying to catch up on my content. But I've been mostly doing like some funnier videos. Definitely check out the one that I did with Who's Stealing That Egg from like Vince's office. Definitely check that one out because that one's kind of dumb and funny. But everything's been good. I'm just keeping up with my content as much as I can. But
awesome,
ready to definitely talk about today's topic for sure.
Somebody else had a really funny video with the King Nick. Shout out King Nick. He had a really funny like Vince video tagging like a bunch of people around it and like who did it. I was laughing my ass off on that. Shout out King Nick.
But yeah, guys, I mean, we're here to talk about Roman Reigns and his Universal Championship situation. As we all know, Roman Reigns took a little bit of a leave of absence earlier on during the COVID era because he wanted to keep himself healthy with everything when he had his leukemia and all that. He just wanted to keep himself in a bit of a better mind space and how everything was going down, especially during that time period of the COVID-19 pandemic era of WWE. He returned to Payback 2020 in the triple threat no holds barred match between Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, who was the Universal Champion at the time, and Braun Strowman, who Bray actually defeated Braun at SummerSlam that previous week. Remember, so that like they had that like two pay-per-views in the matter of a week kind of thing, and then Roman Reigns came back at that point and he won the Universal Championship there, which a lot of people were very upset that that Bray got the short end of the stick in a way like that, but we did not know that it was going to lead to such a character like the Tribal Cheif and him being with Paul Heyman. He's been champion for as long as I can remember. It's definitely over 400 days at this point. I think it's like in the 480s. What were your initial thoughts when everything was going down during that SummerSlam period, into Payback, and then just transitioning into himself being the Tribal Cheif with Paul Heyman and how everything was going to go down there? Because it was a very crazy few weeks during that time.
Is that when he returned? Or was that
Payback 2020? Yes.
I thought I remember it being like SummerSlam. It was in the summertime.
Yeah, Payback 2020 was a week after SummerSlam.
Okay, because I was like, I swear I was at my boy. I remember the moment that he returned, so that's why I was like,
he came back like during the main event. He came out and like I believe he speared like I think it was Braun. He came out and kind of came back that way, and then they had the pay-per-view, so that's how he got kind of inserted into there. Yeah.
He definitely returned during that main event. I do remember that now, but
that moment was definitely memorable and definitely drew my attention right to the screen, and everyone else I remember around me was not looking at the screen, and I'm like, hello, attention, focus up, like this is a moment right here. And
right.
As much as I don't acknowledge that, man, that was a moment that I won't forget, I'll say.
Him coming back was a big deal. I remember when he came out, I was like, oh shit, he's back, because he had been gone for a really long time at that point. And to the point where like they weren't even really talking about him at all, because typically when somebody's gone, they acknowledge him to some degree, and they hadn't really talked about him a long time in the at all. So him coming back was definitely a big deal because I didn't think about him even returning at that point.
Yeah. Plus, I felt wasn't Bray's like title win kind of fresh at that point?
He won it at SummerSlam.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
he only held the championship for about that week.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I remember.
So
now. Yeah.
I mean, wow. I understand at that point in time, Roman was just starting this character. To be completely honest, he wasn't even the Tribal Chief yet until we saw him with Paul Heyman on that SmackDown.
And we are seeing a much different version. This is
right. So, what were your initial thoughts on everything and how everything was going to go down? I'll ask all of you guys that as well.
That night was insane. I was very happy to see him. He looked freaking awesome. I still have that show up and win shirt. I love that shirt. I love that. That was the
wreck everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wreck everyone and leave.
I love that. That was cool for like the moment. I was watching it with my friend. We were both like freaking out because he literally came out of nowhere. The camera turned. He was just right there. But it was a really cool moment. And then it just got worse. From my perspective, that shit got worse.
We moved on into the next pay-per-view, which is Clash of Champions 2020, where he actually faced off against his cousin, Jey Uso, in a Universal Championship match. This was him trying to get Jey to fall in line because of how everything was going to go down. He was the Tribal Chief at this point, but he wanted to bring in his family to build the bloodline, to build everything going down. With that, Jimmy, he was still injured with his knee injury at the time, so it was just Jey. And he was just trying to incorporate Jey into the family and into his tribe, so to speak. That lasted for a little bit because it didn't happen until Hell in a Cell that next month, I believe, to where we had that Hell in a Cell match for the championship, and Jimmy came back and all that. So tell me what your guys' thoughts were when he was trying to get his cousins into everything, because during the beginning stages of the Tribal Chief gimmick, it was hectic and I loved every single second of it. But then once we get further down into the line where he started defending the championship against other competitors, great matches, don't get me wrong, but now we're at this standpoint.
I feel he hasn't lost me yet. I mean, as much as I don't cheer for him when that music hits, but I just feel like what they've got right now is definitely something that's very fucking golden, and to where it definitely is something that you almost don't want to ruin, but to where the more they go further into this is WWE, so they're going to have a chance to ruin, and which is unfortunate. But as you said, the times that we got with great story, you just got to really appreciate, and really more so, I guess, what I will do until he loses that belt. But with the way they've booked him, it's going to be really hard to take him off it. That off him in a serious way to have me be able to buy it.
Yeah, I think personally that's my only big fear right now, is because they've been putting I don't see Roman losing this title until he gets at least to probably, I'm expecting the 2-year mark. I'm expecting him to at least pass Brock at like 500 days. So I definitely think that they're going to put a long period of time into this. And I just hope that they don't put like 2 years of storyline and all of these moments just to then have him drop it to somebody and then, oh, that person's a big deal and a star because they ended the reign, but then it just goes to shit. That's the only thing that I get kind of worried about, is like, who are they going to pass that torch to in terms of like being a bigger deal? So I'm kind of hoping that they actually will give a really good payoff, especially since they're putting years of work into this. But you mentioned the storyline with which Uso was it again?
It was Jimmy. Because Jimmy was injured with a knee injury, so it was only trying to get Jay into the bloodline and starting that portion of it.
I mean, I thought that was actually really good storytelling, especially leading up to Hell in a Cell. I thought that, I mean, the match was fine, but I definitely think that the story being told there, and, you know, I'll be honest, I thought, you know, they kind of pulled me into it with Roman kind of contemplating what he's been doing and stuff like that. Like, I felt like for it, hook, line, and sinker, you know, and I thought it was really good storytelling. In terms of you have like one person trying to tell him like, what are you doing? This isn't you. And then him kind of contemplating it, but then just being like, fuck it, I'm still doing it. And, you know, I thought that was really good storytelling, bringing him in. I probably didn't watch the next upcoming weeks because I don't remember when they eventually like fully went into it and got together.
Right.
I might have to know what happened right then and there to kind of piece together because like there's a little bit of a disconnect for me. But I thought it was fine. I mean, I thought it was really good storytelling. It's a good way to get somebody who is seen as a tag team person and give them a chance to like elevate them and see what they can do and whatnot. I think that especially like right now, the bloodline and just this whole run with the Tribal Cheif is a really good vehicle for both of the Usos because it gives them a chance to like go against other higher level, you know, athletes and give them a chance, you know. I kind of think of it like the Nation of Domination was just entirely for The Rock, and this could be their way to at least get up to like more of the mid card scene and maybe potentially do more single stuff.
I mean, they were doing that main event Jey Uso for a while when he was just the only one in there, and then when Jimmy finally came in. So, Lop, I ask you now, when Roman was trying to get the Usos into the storyline, preferably Jay at that point because Jimmy was injured, where was your head at when they were trying to bring in other members of the Anoa'i family with him and his cousins into the storyline to ultimately help him just grow this Tribal Cheif character?
I thought it was cool. Like Anthony said, the storytelling in the Hell in a Cell match was perfect because I was like Roman crying and him sitting there with just like you had that moment of like, is he really gonna stop? And he just didn't stop. I thought that was great. It was hard for me as soon as the match started. It was hard for me to get into it because I knew that Jey Uso was not going to just beat Roman, even though that would have been a bit of a change of pace. But like at that point, Roman was just starting to get steam. So I'm like, they probably want to take the title off him right now. But as far as the story goes, it was great. You know, I was still on board with it. Excuse me. I was still on board with that this time. But yeah, the first two feuds I would say were really good. I like them.
I feel like that's more so what it is.
We moved on.
There's great matches, but like the outcome is
something
that's going to be predictable, and that's what sucks. Is every match is seeming like it's either going to be a roll up or it's a predictable winner. So.
Yeah. Nowadays, yes.
Yeah.
But during this point in time, like when moving forward into January, into December and January, we had him going after Kevin Owens, or Kevin Owens really going after the Tribal Cheif at that time. And Kevin Owens, when he was doing the TLC match against Roman, and then he, I don't know what match he had at the Rumble. I think it might have just been a normal one-on-one match, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm actually going to go back here and check it out.
When was the last man standing match?
The last man standing match was the Rumble. That's it. So yeah. So he had that Kevin Owens in a TLC match in December, and then the last man standing match in January. I loved the storytelling with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has always been world champion material to me, and then when they brought him in to try to go up against the Tribal Cheif Roman Reigns, I'm like, this is perfect. I love the whole fighting style of Kevin Owens. I like what Roman Reigns is doing right now. This is a great storyline to not only help Kevin Owens be in that world championship picture, but anything that Roman was touching at that time was turning to gold, and it made Kevin Owens all that more special. To me, at least.
Yeah, no, I definitely really like the work they did with Roman and Kevin Owens. It kind of is weird to me how much, like, from when they did that couple months of like feuding, it's kind of crazy how much he dropped off, because I don't really remember what he did after that.
I didn't even remember that he really even did
I
that.
think he was doing something. I think if I remember right, he was doing stuff with like Logan Paul and like Sami Zayn.
Yes. Yeah.
Very briefly.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, it's fine to get like celebrity involvement because the company trusts him enough to kind of deal with like celebrity and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's just a drop off from like, here you are competing for the world title to like, now you're going to be in this like little undercard, like celebrity involvement kind of thing. It's like, I don't know. That's kind of like a big drop off for me.
Yeah, I feel that, because I didn't even remember that he was really doing that with Roman, and I remember the Logan Paul stuff. So
it's really sad that I
remember the Logan Paul and not the Tribal Cheif. There's a little bit of something going on there. But we moved on forward into February, where it was Elimination Chamber, and the Elimination Chamber was to see who was going to face Roman later on in that night. I don't know why this was a thing. I mean, we saw the Rumble winner at the time. Fuck, I'm actually blanking here. Who won the 2020 Rumble? That was Drew, right? That was Drew.
Or was it Drew that one? I'm thinking of next year. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, no, hold on.
Edge, right?
Oh, was it?
Edge won. Edge won. That's it.
Yeah.
What the hell am I talking about?
I forgot, dude. Honestly, I forgot that.
What the hell am I talking about? So, So it was Edge, and he was, you know how long that tried to figure out who the heck was Edge going to face at WrestleMania and all that, but at the Elimination Chamber, it was pretty much to determine who was going to face Roman later on in that night. It was Daniel. What the heck is going on here? Why isn't it? Am I on the right? Yeah, I'm on the right. I'm on the right pay-per-view. Where the heck is it? There it is. Okay. Sorry, computer difficulties here. We got. No, wait. Where was that? I thought we had an Elimination Chamber match to determine who Roman was going to face later on in that night. I swear that happened.
He did. Yeah. It's just he. And this is what doesn't make any sense to me though, because you also had.
Am I not?
Let me see here.
Oh wait, Elimination Chamber 2021. That's probably it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
They do chat.
There it is. Okay, I found it now.
No, they did. Okay, yeah.
So it was Daniel Bryan defeating the likes of Cesaro, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, King Corbin at the time, and Sami Zayn. And then right after that, which Daniel Bryan won, Roman Reigns had a match with Daniel Bryan and won by technical submission with the guillotine with for the immediate Universal Championship opportunity in 1 minute and 36 seconds. This was when Daniel Bryan was trying to get back into the Universal Championship picture and how all that went down. Everybody wanted Daniel back inside and into that championship picture. Not me. I mean, like, this entire thing with Daniel Bryan and then inserting Daniel Bryan into the triple threat match at WrestleMania because nobody really, a lot of people, I won't say nobody, a lot of people didn't really think that Edge versus Roman was probably going to be the best bet for Edge or Roman at the time, which I really didn't understand. Tell me what you guys were thinking during all that time when Daniel lost in a minute 36. He got inserted into WrestleMania. Then Roman pinned both of them at WrestleMania because he stacked them, pinned them, and did all that kind of stuff. Where were all your heads at during that time in space?
So I feel like this is like the case of WWE backing themselves into a corner again with their booking, because for a while you had Rumble, Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania. I feel like you didn't need to have the Universal, especially because I think at that point like Edge had already decided on Roman, right?
What was that? I'm sorry. Kind of broke up.
Edge had already decided on Roman before the Elimination Chamber, right? He had already said that he was going to go pick him.
I believe it was during that month. If I'm not mistaken, it was either right after the Chamber or right before. It was either right before or right after. Because then at Fastlane, during that buffer in between WrestleMania and the Rumble and Elimination Chamber, it was Roman and Daniel Bryan, which legitimately lasted a half hour in the main event of Fastlane for the Universal title with Edge as a special guest referee or enforcer. So It was definitely during that time.
Because it's weird to me that, because like don't get me wrong, you could have like the WWE, because they had it later on in that night. Like they had the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber. You probably only needed one. You didn't need to have a second one to be for a championship match if the championship match was only going to be for a minute and a half, which from a storyline perspective makes sense because he's already spent by that point. But like, I people have like said in there like Roman didn't want to do it, and it makes sense, but I don't know if they were just trying to get some of these guys airtime or what the reasoning was, but like it doesn't make sense to me from that perspective. Plus, like having Daniel just be involved in the main event of WrestleMania for no reason kind of just completely retcons all of what they did with the Rumble and Edge coming back and winning it and getting the opportunity, because then it was like, well, how come we can't just add more people elsewhere? I totally liked the ending with the double pin. I thought that made him look very strong and dominant, but like you didn't need to include him in the pay-per-view, especially if you already had the chance with the Elimination Chamber. But like, and especially I think you said like Fastlane too. So
it was Fastlane. It was a half-hour banger in the main event for the Universal title.
So I would have honestly not going to have given him another chance. There was no reason to have him unless you were going to try to make Edge look strong, but you didn't even need to do that if you were just going to pin both of them anyway. So there was, in my
because I personally thought that Roman Daniel was getting inserted in there. I'm like, all right, well, Edge is not getting pinned. It's going to be Bryan. I didn't think Edge was going to be pinned, and then all of a sudden I just see him pinning both of them. I found that strange, but I liked it because I'm like, it's the Tribal Cheif. Of course, he should win in dominant fashion like that. Mm-hmm. But wow, where was your headspace in all of this when it was Daniel Bryan and having everything going on for those 3 months from the Rumble into Fastlane into not Rumble, the Chamber, the Fastlane to WrestleMania?
I think Daniel Bryan being included was weird because it made Daniel Bryan look like more whiny in that sense, because he was like, "Oh, I want the match too." It didn't really make any sense. And I hated him looking in that manner because he barely even did that. Like when they tried to do that whiny heel thing with him, it like either really, really worked or really didn't. Right. I feel like he was past that because he more so did that when he was World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown, when he had like AJ with him and shit like that. So that was more like that whiny persona kind of thing. So I felt he was past that now,
Right, yeah.
Edge coming back was such a crazy day. Because if I'm not mistaken, that was January 26th, right?
Believe so, yes.
That was the same day Kobe died. And like that was like
Oh yeah.
my day started off so bad.
Dates, unlocks, and shit. Jesus.
Yeah, my day started off so bad and it ended off so good. Just watching that with all my friends and seeing Edge come back. So like having that whole moment lead up to Edge getting his match quote unquote taken from him because Bryan was in it. I understood what Edge's point of view was as far as the story goes, because it was like, why would you come all the way back just to have Bryan just say, "Oh, I'm here too"? And like the match itself was cool. The triple threat match was awesome. I thought Edge was going to win at like 3 different times. The whole stacking and pinning thing, that was cool. But at this point, I started to get like a little bit. That was my first seed of doubt. Like, okay, this is starting to annoy me because didn't get his fair one, and in a way, it seemed like Bryan got in the way of Edge winning because I genuinely think part of the plan was for Edge to beat Roman at some point. Because remember when CM Punk said that he didn't want to come back to WWE because they do the same thing, win the Rumble, and then they beat the biggest champion at WrestleMania?
Yep.
That's their formula. So Edge winning would have been this not the best thing to do as far as like a long term goes, but that's their formula. So putting Bryan into that and just scrapping that, say, yeah, no, Roman's gonna pin both of them at the same time. It just seemed like, okay, now they're starting to panic, you know, and now it's starting to get weird. So that was my first seed of doubt. But the match itself was cool, honestly.
I'm with the latter. I feel the insert of Bryan in the retrospective, when you look back and you have 3 talents that were not supposed to be in the ring ever again, in the ring together, that's incredible. And yeah, maybe story-wise and whatever gimmick-wise they were doing at that point, I don't know what Bryan was doing or Edge was doing or Roman, I obviously know what was doing, but to where I feel it may not have momentarily worked, but when you look at it back and in the outcome, you can say like, yeah, that's pretty damn awesome. And that's the one thing that I'm like kind of more hooked on than actually more so than, so to say, ruining Edge's moment than, because I don't think Edge was going to win it. I mean, that is a good point, Loft, but to where I don't think they were going to go consistent pattern formula. Yeah, they were maybe going to bring Punk back and put him in a Rumble or something, who knows, but to where I think the plan's always been to try to build Roman up to be this. And to now that they've kind of just put themselves, unfortunately, in a corner to where they don't know where to go from this.
We moved on into WrestleMania Backlash when he was doing the whole thing with Cesaro. I love Cesaro getting a push to get to that championship point. It was long overdue, but this was the time where I was like, okay, I love Cesaro is getting this opportunity, and I love that how pretty much everything at this point, like I said earlier, everything Roman has touched has turned to gold. But this was the point at the time where I'm like, do I really see Cesaro taking the title off of Roman? And it wasn't any disrespect to Cesaro. It wasn't any kind of disrespect to pretty much anything that was going on at that time during the story. It's just like we've been seeing this kind of progression and how this pattern is going to make Cesaro look like an absolute star. But it was just a matter of like, what are they really trying to do here with this Roman Reigns Universal Championship reign? Did you guys see it in that way as well, or were you just guys really happy that Cesaro was getting that opportunity?
I was really cool with it. I thought that they did their job in the match, getting the suspense and belief out of me, even though Roman was sort of known to not be losing at that point. I really thought that they definitely made Cesaro look pretty damn good in that match, but to where he has been very underrated in this company, I would say. I mean, he's had some tag tenures and shit. Maybe he's had the IC title. I don't know if he even has had that.
No, he hasn't. I think he's really only been a tag team champ.
So that's criminal.
And this was his first ever world championship opportunity. So
I thought he would be the outcome in that motherfucking pizza battle royal at Survivor Series, but it wasn't Cesaro. So he's really overlooked.
Yeah. So, I mean, Anthony, what were your thoughts on the whole Cesaro situation when he was going up against Roman? I mean, were you just happy that he was getting the opportunity, or was it just like at this point, what are they really trying to do here with this championship reign?
So I definitely, I am a big fan of Cesaro, and I feel like he's definitely been getting the shaft a lot. Like he'll get a push a little bit, and then he'll be negated. He's been given chance after chance to get a little bit of a push, and then just for whatever reason, Vince can never ever seem to want to give him a little bit more of that. And I think he'd be a terrific world champion, but Vince doesn't apparently see it in him, which is a real shame. But I was really glad to see that he got somewhat of an opportunity. And if anything, this reign is going to be very similar to what I felt was like John Cena's U.S. title reign, like his latest one, when he was doing that open challenge where you knew he wasn't going to probably lose the title to some of these guys, but they were given an opportunity to show what they could actually do and get over with the fans, even in defeat. And I definitely think with the guys like Kevin Owens, he showed that he can be a big star and not have to win. Cesaro definitely showed that. I feel sad saying this, but this was actually the one feud I forgot that Roman had. So every time I've seen like the different opponents throughout this time that he's had as champion, I was like, oh yeah, Cesaro is part of it. But I definitely am glad to see him get an opportunity. But this was during the phase where I was like, okay, if Edge isn't going to get his moment, then he's going to be holding this title for a long time. Then that was really started to like turn the page on like, okay, it's not going to be just a short reign. Like he's going to have this for a long time.
And he's obviously have. Cesaro, we all know he's talented. We all know he is a great talent in this business. Cesaro. I'm sorry. Wow.
There we go.
Cesaro. I looked it up, Bash. He wasn't an Intercontinental champion, but he was a former United States champion. That was when he was. I think he was with Oksana at that time. Believe it or not. So.
Criminal.
Yeah. But he was the tag team champions. Obviously, he was the United States champion. Cesaro was just getting an opportunity off, and he showed up in amazing ways against Roman. But where was your head and space at with the Cesaro portion of this reign for Roman?
For a split second, I thought good old Cesaro was going to beat him. For a split second, I thought he was going to do it, but I think that was the best use of him in a very long time because he was just like treading water for so long. And I feel like if that match never happened, they put someone in his spot and then pushed him farther down the line to eventually take the title off of him, it would make a lot of sense because I feel like he's one of those characters that is an amazing wrestler and has not been really used ever since the whole U.S. Championship run, and the crowd was behind him, and it seemed like he really could have been somebody to where, like, we talked about this before, where there's certain superstars that me personally, I believe can beat Roman, but people don't look at him as a champion just because of the way they've been booked.
Right.
And I feel that WWE doesn't look at them that way because of the own way they booked them.
That's the main issue. So it's like, but the only reason why Cesaro was different was because they consistently booked him in hit or miss things. Like the bar, I never liked it, but everyone liked that. He had the whole Cesaro section thing going on. He was over for a long time. So it's like, they were booking him in the right way, and the fans had him. The fans had him the whole way for the most part, except for the Oksana thing. But I barely remember. That was ridiculous.
That was one of the 5 different languages.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was like at the beginning of his run.
Yeah.
I personally feel, and this is why I think he'll never get a world title at all in WWE, is just because, and I can define the moment in which they kind of buried him in terms of a world title opportunity, is when he won the inaugural Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and they were building that to be a big deal, and he had that great moment.
Turned out not to be.
And I was like, okay, cool. They're giving him a chance. The crowd likes him. They paired him with Paul Heyman, of all people, which I'm thinking like, okay, great. He's not the best talker, so having a guy like that will hype him up like a lot. Paul Heyman has gone on to say like he was literally just there to get him airtime, to give Paul Heyman airtime to talk about Brock Lesnar. If that does not show how much of a shit less they give about him as a character, to make matters worse, they had Vince on Stone Cold's podcast saying why he's not getting over with the fans is because of his style and his accent and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so it's like Vince doesn't care about him, and it's very clear, and he's just trying to blame us for why he's not getting over.
And the thing is, when you said that he was on the podcast for Broken Skull, and he was pretty much saying the language barrier is pretty much just what holding him back, and he's not getting over with the fans in that way. I can totally see that that's exactly why he said it, is because, I mean, Andrade was never in this, but I'm going to bring him up anyway. They made Andrade go to school to learn English properly. So, I mean, like, the fact that he was saying that about Cesaro, I can totally just see him saying that. That was at WrestleMania Backlash with him and Cesaro. We moved on into the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where he actually didn't even defend that championship in 2021 for Hell in a Cell. And then in Money in the Bank in July, I believe this was pretty much when fans were coming back. If I'm not mistaken, fans were officially coming back at this time during Money in the Bank. And we moved on to where he was facing Edge one-on-one. So there you go. Edge finally getting the opportunity that he deserved at WrestleMania, the one-on-one match. It was a great match. Everything about Edge and Roman at this point in time was great. I felt like the story flowed well. I felt everybody was really behind Edge and trying to get this championship off of Roman. And at this time, I really feel like this was when the Tribal Cheif character for Roman really came into effect. I don't know if Jimmy was a part of this yet. If any of you guys know in the chat, please let us know. But this was really when Roman was on his stride as the Tribal Cheif and the Universal Champion. So Edge finally getting that opportunity. What did you guys' thoughts when he was finally at that point at Money in the Bank one-on-one with the Tribal Cheif?
I mean, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, the match was great.
I mean, Edge has been delivering like bangers since he's returned, and what I really appreciate. I mean, I'm gonna get off a little bit topic here, but the thing I like about Edge is when he decides to go into a program, like even though he's not doing a lot of matches, he'll be there every week to like hype that up. Yes. And I think for a part timer, I think that's amazing. I think more part timers need to be taking lessons from that. But no, I thought that the build up to that was really awesome. I was glad to see him be like, I earned this opportunity for a one-on-one. I didn't get this one-on-one. I want it now. I remember him coming back because no one expected it. And I think in that promo that Roman delivered where he's like, I've beaten this person, and then he just comes back. And it was like, I remember I marked out for that hella hard.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I was like, because that music, he's got the best entrance when it comes to surprise returns because everybody just knows exactly what.
As soon as you hear the "You Think You Know Me," it's like, yeah,
that's great. I thought that was great. Match was really good. Knew Edge wasn't going to probably win, but to me, that's disappointing because I'm a big Edge guy, and I think that out of all the things that he needs to do in his career, he needs to get at least just one more. I think, just even if it's for a little bit of time, just to kind of cap off his career.
I think that's kind of why they moved him over to Monday Night Raw, because we weren't really going to see Edge beat Roman, but Edge beating a guy like Big E or Seth Rollins again, if he actually ever wins the championship or something like that, having him win the WWE title over the Universal, I think that's why they did it over here for Raw.
Which I think is a great move. I thought it was a really good decision.
What were your guys' thoughts of bashing off?
What are you on right now? I had to walk away. What happened?
When he was facing Edge one-on-one at the Money in the Bank.
Oh, my mind was not on that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
My mind was completely on what was probably gonna happen right after that. I was like,
this was when John Cena whole thing. Yeah.
Wait, was
that back? Yeah, there you go.
When did Edge do the Brood entrance? What was that for? Was that for Seth Rollins' feud?
Yeah.
SummerSlam. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
we'll definitely get to SummerSlam in just a little bit, though. Trust me.
Yeah.
But yeah, during the whole storyline with Edge, what was your thought process during that? I know you weren't really too focused on Edge, but the storyline.
Was John Cena confirmed by that point? He was
because like a few, I think, days before. I was on. We were still. I don't even think this podcast was like even existing at that point. Me and Saul were doing the podcast, and
we debuted on the first night. Fans came back, which was on the SmackDown.
Yeah, but the news broke like 4 days before. They said Cena was on his way back because he was done the movie, and we were recording the podcast, and it had to be like a few days before the actual show. But once I heard that, I was like, yeah, I don't care about this. But I was done with the Edge aspect of it because they threw that.
No, we were live.
Were we?
We were live for the show. Yeah, we were live for the pay-per-view because I remember videotaping from my couch. And I remember John Cena. Wait, maybe.
I'm so confused.
Maybe not. Maybe.
Here, hold on. So the first SmackDown back, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was the Friday Night SmackDown or 2 Friday Night SmackDowns before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's when Finn came back. That's when Finn came back.
Yes.
I don't think Cena was there. I don't think Cena was at that show.
I
don't remember. I don't remember. Really?
Let me look at our channel.
I felt like Cena was more of a surprise.
Yeah.
He returned at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I don't remember an announcement to it at all or anything.
No, it wasn't an announcement.
They didn't say it, but they said he was coming back. So the next pay-per-view was coming up. We assumed that I believe.
Yeah. It was all assumption and it was all rumors.
Your guys' first episode was on July 16th.
Yeah, which was the first SmackDown with fans back.
Yeah.
So that's before. Yeah, okay, yeah. So
that was before Money in the Bank. Yeah. That was the SmackDown before Money in the Bank, just 2 days prior.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was all just rumor and speculation that John was coming back. And then we moved on into SummerSlam. During that entire time with John Cena and Roman Reigns, we all know how the John Cena Roman Reigns promo going at it. John Cena just could not stop saying 1, 2, and 3 during that entire time.
All he needs is 1, 2, 3.
Roman. Sorry, Loft, but that was exactly the promo. Just saying 1, 2, 3 like 10 million times.
Only needs
Roman. He tried his best. He tried his best to keep up with Johnny, but it's just not going to work. And he even said it himself in the promo that he was going up against him. He's like, "Listen, I'm not a promo guy. I'm not a promo guy. I'm a guy that's in the ring." First of all, when you said that, Roman, that was your first mistake. you're exposing yourself. So that was your first mistake. What were your initial thoughts and pretty much your entire thoughts on how this John Cena Roman Reigns feud happened until SummerSlam? Did you know? Well, obviously we knew it was going to be good, but just everybody's thoughts on how everything was going to go down at that point, because it could have. I have to admit, the match itself afterwards, a lot of people were saying that was a little bit too overhyped with the match quality. Even though the match was great, but a lot of people didn't really see the match being that great as advertised.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that, just because I feel like, you had two of the biggest stars in the company, and one of those things where it's like, yeah, definitely the hype was kind of a little bit too much. I knew going into it Roman was going to win. John was just going to deliver a good match and then leave, which he ended up doing. But
was this your first time in it to where it was like, oh yeah, well, Roman's obviously winning from here?
That started for me right around.
Or was it prior to this?
I think it was for me. It was for WrestleMania when Edge, because I was like, all right, if they're not going to give Edge his moment, even though like,
oh wow, so it was all the way back there.
I was like, they're going to go to the moon with this guy. I was like, there's no way that they're just going to give it to a part timer. They are most likely going to give it to a guy to be a bigger star. I'm hoping. I'm still waiting on that, and I knew with John, I was like, they're not going to give it to him just because John's not going to be there every week, and he's got other obligations with all the movies and like other commercials and all kinds of stuff he's filming. I thought the build-up to it was really good. John definitely knows that he can talk anything he wants. He's like The Rock in that effect. He's got so much freedom to be able to talk the way he wants because he knows that Vince is never going to get rid of him because he's a big moneymaker. Right. Somebody in the comments mentioned that he name-dropped John Moxley. I remember that.
Yes.
He definitely talks a little bit more insider, and I like that. But it was fine. I mean, the match was decent. It was good, but I mean, it's two guys that are known for having like moves of doom. John with the 5 moves, and Roman not having as many. As much of an ability as other people, but I thought it was fine.
And you guys' thoughts, bash and laugh about how everything was going to go down during that time?
Yes.
Well, when Cena came back, Phil called me. I was crying. I burst into tears. I was
at a friend's house, Anthony, just to give a little bit of context. We saw everything happening. I believe they were doing the watch along. I believe Lyle was just ending his live or whatever, because as soon as Money in the Bank ended, I called him because I'm like, this guy is the biggest John Cena guy I know. So I legitimately had to call him. He didn't answer me the first time, so I called him back. And I'm like, you better answer.
I had 15 people calling me at once. I'm on TikTok with like 400 people. That was the biggest outcome I ever had. They flooded in. And I'm sitting there sobbing my eyes out. All these people in there, Phil's calling me. Saul's calling me. I'm like, what the fuck? I can't answer all these calls. And the live is going crazy. And I'm crying still. And when that was done, I was just, see, Josh was there. I was, what the hell?
Yeah.
This was a really crazy time for the WWE, and this is when they really were hot-shotting, because you had AEW starting to really get their stride and just start putting out a lot of the stuff that they were eventually going to start with. And I could definitely tell like WWE was because they knew fans were going to come back too. You had Edge come back. Then the next month you had like Cena come back. Then the next month you had Lesnar come back. It seemed like every single pay-per-view.
It was just a great time to be a fan.
They really were like, okay, fans are coming back. We really need to like impress them. And I knew with like SummerSlam, they were making that a big deal because this was like the first time in like a long time that they were going to have it in like a huge football stadium. It's in my hometown, so like, you know, I knew it was going to be a big deal, and they packed the hell out of that. Like traffic was crazy over that stadium. But I mean, among other things that were an issue there, but yeah, no, it was a crazy time.
That was that was something. That's why I thought he was going to win. That's why I really thought Cena was going to win, because
I thought so too. Despite them building Roman up, I really almost thought they were going to give it to Cena, even if he was a part-timer, because it's Cena.
I mean, you could have definitely done that. I mean, I think that the story would have been there because you had Cena, who is tied with Rick for the most, you know, title reigns. So you could have had him break that, you know. But then you also had the tour of Cena, where they were literally saying all of the shows that he was going to go to. So you could have easily had him win and then done a little bit more shows if the schedule allowed for it, and then just have Roman beat him again if you wanted to, or something like that. I was fine with Cena not winning either, because I think it's still setting up a really great character and reign.
I think
I mean, you guys know what I was saying. What was that? Sorry.
Was Rick in hot water by that point?
No, they hadn't come out with that.
Oh no,
outside of the ring yet.
They didn't come out with that episode yet.
I don't know.
But that was the thing. Like when they did the whole Summer of Cena thing, that's when I thought, oh, they might have him win, like hold the title until I think it was like the MSG show. I thought Roman was gonna have the match at the MSG show and then win it back, you know. But I thought Cena was gonna have it because there was so much build up for that, and Cena was like the Kevin Owens and like the Cesaro, where it was like someone that actually could beat him. But once Roman beat Cena, I was out. That was my final straw. I was done because I was pissed already. That was my final straw.
I think
I'm happy
that's
the match
what
be clean.
So this was when you were getting sour.
Yeah,
this was when you were getting sour a lot about Roman's reign. Sorry.
And about the straw on my back, I'd say too. I mean, actually, no, not for me. Mine was more so down the line when. Actually, not even real. I mean, I never really have just attained to his reign. It just is after. I don't know. There's just
because the thing is, next guys, next. What's up?
Can you block Heel James from the chat? I don't know what the hell he's doing, but he won't shut the hell up.
Oh yeah. There we go.
I can't get to my mod thing right now, but yeah.
Don't come into this chat to just troll. Because the next feud, guys, was Roman and Finn Balor. And this
oh god.
You're gonna love my opinion on this, bro.
And this was when Finn Balor. This was when Finn Balor he didn't get defeated by Roman. He didn't. He got defeated by God and a turnbuckle. Because the turnbuckle legitimately just snapped and everybody's just like, what the fuck happened here? Now, with everything going, like, they brought the demon back just to finally have him lose on the roster. At this point, he was undefeated, I believe, or he really lost. I think that was really the story. He lost to Samoa Joe, yeah, but on the main roster, he was never really defeated as the Fiend. And Fiend, yeah. Jesus Christ, Demon, same, whatever. But yeah, this was when the whole thing happened. The turnbuckle, all of that. Initial thoughts on how everything was going to go down until that match actually legitimately happened. Because I don't know, but this feud was really, really lackluster.
Yeah, so I thought the build up to this was kind of like a little bit. I knew a lot of people were excited because, I mean, you can have Finn Balor versus Roman as much as you want, but I think having the demon character really added like a layer to that, because I'm like, all right, he's been beating all of these really top people. So then, you know, if you're going to go against Finn needs to be the strongest version of himself, which is the demon. So like from a storyline perspective, it made sense. You know, they talked about like what him being the demon represents, and I thought that was really, really good. I mean, but Finn is one of those guys that like, you know, I mean, promoting the event is not really like his strongest suit, you know, and that's where I really feel like Heyman kind of put him over as like a bigger deal, you know, even if Finn couldn't do that himself. But it was kind of like, I was like not really looking forward to it. I kind of knew, I was like, all right, there's gonna be a way that they're gonna screw him over, but how are they gonna do it? Which I was kind of like interested in, you know.
Bash, Waff.
That was something. That was really something. I never thought I would see anything like that. Because I remember everyone thought it was well, not everyone, but I know there was a lot of people that when Finn did the whole when he was like laying on the ground, he was like flopping on like a fish.
Yeah, he was having like a legit heart attack on screen.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool, but that during that period of time, I thought the match was going to be over, and the complete opposite happened when the turnbuckle exploded under his feet. So it was just like that. Like I said, I was done after the Cena match, so that just made it even more of an anger point for me. Come like they had an easy way for Finn to just do the coup de grace off the top rope and Roman to spear him while the music was playing and the lights are red. That would have been such a legendary spot if he speared him out of the air. But no, they said, nah, let's make these ropes explode and he falls. And I'm like, okay. What now? He loses directly after. I was like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. But that was you can't end a demon character like that. You can't do it like that, bro.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think here's my opinion on it. And I remember when everybody was coming out on TikTok and like different, you know, social media and talking about the match, saying like the match was awesome, but that ending just sucked. And I was like, you guys need to like wait a little bit. Like this is the problem. I feel like a lot of of the wrestling community, we have gotten so conditioned to not have long-term storytelling or want to wait for what happens next anymore because everything's so instantaneous that
everybody wants instant gratification.
So they want to just know like, oh, okay, this person won because of this. But my whole thing was like, give it a couple of weeks and find an answer, which I guess they never fucking did. So now I hate the fucking spot. But like, I remember thinking like, okay, they could do something with this. And I think they had such an easy way of doing this. You could have had the rope break under Finn and give Roman a reason because Roman didn't know what happened. It could have been revealed to be Paul Heyman. That could have easily had started the whole animosity between him and Roman going into the Brock stuff. That could have easily had catapulted into Roman not trusting Paul because Paul doesn't think that Roman could have done it with, Finn, let alone Brock. Could have easily had started it. Could have made more sense from a storyline perspective.
That's actually interesting, yeah.
And you could have had all these fans be like, wow, okay, I feel so dumb for not, believing that. I mean, that's the thing that I think Vince needs to think of, because Vince books himself into all of the, or just creative in general, books themselves into all of these issues where, okay, we need both of these people to look strong, but how do we do that? And they hit it sometimes on the mark, with Survivor Series and Charlotte and Becky, you had these two top women who you need both of them to look strong, but how do we do it? And so then you have Becky totally just cheating the hell and keeping with her kind of character. I thought that was perfect for getting both of them over, because then neither one of them are really looking weak in that. But, it's just one of those things where it's they don't always hit it. And that was one of those instances because they didn't continue with it from a storyline perspective. I don't even think they even talked about it after that, huh?
Not really. I mean, they showed it little bits. I don't know if they actually acknowledged it. Maybe I know that fans ended up getting video of the cameraman actually doing it. I don't know if WWE actually said yep, it was the cameraman, but to where it just really felt the payoff. I mean, yeah, fans really do want instant payoff. That's what it is. But to where the payoff from it could have been much more, and that Paul Heyman that concept is kind of cool. And I would have definitely.
Because they got because I just actually you brought it up. I remember now that they did have that camera, come out with the cameraman and stuff like that, cutting the ropes. You could have easily had just made that off to be maybe even one of the Usos, and starting maybe the breakup of the bloodline and have everything kind of crumbling down for Roman, because then you have the Brock stuff. So then maybe he can like separate from like Paul, and then he can lose the title, and everything starts to kind of crumble down for him. I think they could have done something way different and still get both guys over, because I loved the ending except for the very end of it with the rope break. I thought him coming back to life. I thought his music hitting while he was doing all that cool spots was awesome. Because like his music's awesome. I love his entrance, and I think that him doing that stuff was just banger after banger. I was like, and then it just was a sour note, and I was like,
Yeah, the build-up I thought even was good to the match. Everything was great, and that ending is what lost me on Roman's title reign. That's what actually did it.
So the Finn Balor stuff is what you got you.
Finn Balor spot is what lost me.
Okay.
I'm trying not to lose faith in him, man, because I think that like they're trying to do something. I'm gonna really lose faith in a lot of this build-up if they either give it to somebody who doesn't deserve it in terms of beating this title reign, or they just give it to somebody, make him a big deal, and then do nothing with him. Then I'm going to be like, the whole buildup was a complete waste of time. You know what I mean? I feel like, because I already know like what they're trying to do and make a big deal out of Roman and whoever is going to eventually beat him. So I'm not too sour on like the people that he's beating, as long as they're making it make sense. And so the Finn stuff was kind of dumb to me, especially like in the way that they ended it.
We moved on into Crown Jewel, obviously. We're almost heading into present day now. Obviously with the Brock Lesnar stuff and how everything went down with that, Paul Heyman, seeing if he was like legitimately trustworthy with Roman and the bloodline. And then at the end of the match, he just chucks the Universal Championship in there. He says, you know what to do with it. Michael Cole was saying, I believe on commentary, is like, whoa, wait a second. Was he throwing it to Brock or was he throwing it to Roman? Because he put it right in the middle of them. And then you guys know the legendary tug of war happens between Roman and Brock. Just from all those years ago, I believe they were stuck in the snowstorm when they were doing the Raw in the headquarters that year. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was heading into, I believe, their WrestleMania match that year. It was a big snowstorm in Connecticut. They were supposed to have that show over at the XL Center, but they had to do it in the headquarters instead. That was like years ago, Pash, so you won't have to worry about that, trying to figure out when the heck that was. But yeah, so that entire storyline there. And then we moved on into present day, where it was the Survivor Series and it was champion versus champion, Roman versus Big E. And we all know how that went down because, I mean, we literally just saw it go down this past Sunday. So we're here in present day. I'm kind of shocked with the way that everybody was talking earlier, especially with the OTB podcast. Laf, I felt like the way that you were saying some things about Roman's championship reign as the Universal Champion, I thought you were really sour on him way before than you said. So I'm actually shocked that it was as late in the reign as it was.
Oh no, it was building up. I never really had like my boiling over point until the whole Cena thing, because now I realized that this was more of just the maximum push kind of storyline. Because I saw a lot of people try to do what they try to compare the Tribal Cheif Roman to Super Cena, And I'm like, you can't compare that only because Cena consistently got beat down, you know, and found a way to prevail at the end. Roman doesn't look weak in any of these matches except for like the first 3, maybe. You know, and even the Cena matches, he would take some bumps, he was taking the AA off the top rope, and the Finn match, he looked. I'll say the Finn match, I think he looked tired, but I don't think Finn did that much for him to be selling it like he did. You know, like that last pinfall, Roman looked like he just went through a 40-minute Iron Man match, and it wasn't like that much of a match to act like that. But
I just because I watched it, 05 Survivor Series, Cena and Kurt Angle went through like 6 referees in one match just to let Cena like have more of like a fucking challenge to go through.
Right. Yeah.
That was the difference. So like this is just like, it doesn't even look like he's really prevailing. It just looks like that he's just running through everybody and running through people that he shouldn't just run right through, you know.
And that's why like that win against Big E, it's like, why did like if we've seen him get some dirty ass like wins against the likes of Finn, and you know, it's like, why, like how is he just chomping through Big E with a spear to end it like that? It's like, oh, okay. It's
not
like
to mention Cena went down with one spear. Cena went down with one spear. I just thought about that. Cena went down with like one spear and the match is over. I'm like, Cena had to do 14 attitude adjustments, 18 roll-ups, a jump, like he's all this stuff. And it's just like,
that's true too. But,
yeah, unfortunately, this reign, as much as I think that it's been having a lot of great matches and a lot of elevating certain people to get to that kind of like giving them more of a like these people can actually go for the world title. I definitely, it gives me, and as much as I've enjoyed this reign too, it definitely gives me like 2007, like 2006, like WWE champion John Cena, Super Cena vibes at the time where he was going against like the Great Khali, Umaga, like all these like top people and like just going through them like you know, it kind of is giving me a little bit of those vibes too, like the longer that it's going. So I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to end for him eventually.
So are you just sour on this too at this point, Anthony? Like, are you just waiting for him to lose the title, or are you just like? I mean, you said you're in a wait and see, but like, it sounds to me you're kind of just in the wait and like when the heck is he gonna lose?
Like that's the question for me. Like I'm trying to give him a chance because I think Roman's a great talent. I think the Bloodline is a really good vehicle for him, and I think having Paul on his side has definitely helped to elevate him. Because I think we all know that Roman's not the best talker. He's admitted it himself. He's gotten a lot better, and I think him being a heel is a lot better because there's going to be people who naturally hate him anyway, and I think that what he's doing is his best work. I'm not completely sour on him beating people. I just think that what are they doing after that's making them at all, you know? Like, what did Kevin do after he lost? What did Cesaro do after he lost? Giving them more of an opportunity to show that they can be stars even after they lose is one thing. Just giving them a chance and then throwing them to the wayside is just making them seem like, okay, they're just feeding people to him. You know, guys like Cena and Edge are one of those people who can leave and then still be seen as a big deal because of the fact that they're legends in the business. But like, what are you doing with the people who are going on after, you know? Like, another case is like Finn. What did Finn do after he, you know, lost? Nothing really of like prominence. So it's like that I'm kind of like having an issue on, but I'm not completely sour. I'm more in the middle. I can see why everybody's irritated with his reign, but like at the same time, like I'm still trying to give him a chance because I think this is like his best work.
Oh, it's his best work for sure. It's just I just at this point I'm waiting and looking to see who, if anyone, is viable enough to be built up in order to take it off him. Because
that's very true. Yeah, because like you've had all of these different people. You know what is next for him to go against? You know, because like that is a thing. That's a problem too. Like when you have these long reigns, like who else can he go against that's going to make sense? You know, because you haven't beat Brock, you haven't beat Cena, Edge. You have all of these top guys who I remember people thought that Brock was going to beat him, thought Edge was going to beat him, Cena was going to beat him. So like, who else do you have? You know, unless you're
See, now here's the thing. That's
Unless
exactly what I wanted to bring up into.
You digress and you
because
go backwards and you go to a Drew McIntyre or a,
right. Now we have the day one pay-per-view coming up next. That's not until January, so we got a little while left in order to get there. With the championship reign as it's looking right now, and with the roster for SmackDown as it's looking right now, because to me, when they were doing the draft 6 weeks ago, when they pretty much announced that there was going to be another WWE draft, I'm like, all right, they're pretty much doing this draft so that we can get new superstars for Roman to have heading into WrestleMania and all that stuff. But when they did the draft, guys, I'm going to be completely blunt with you. They put everybody that has star power on Raw. Everybody.
That's very fact. Like,
Raw's got 3 hours though, man.
Yes, but you have to have people that are credible to go up against Roman. You have to.
Because
I mean, the guys that I can really only see going after Roman that are pretty much stars here on this roster of SmackDown, and trust me, we've already seen some of these. Cesaro, Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, kind of.
So kind of, what is that, like half of Jeff Hardy?
Listen, it's not a backhanded compliment. I'm just saying a lot of things with Jeff Hardy, with right now and the way that they're trying to do things, it's just not. To me, it's not really in the cards right now. So Jeff Hardy at number 3.
That's a good point that Phenom makes is a second star. You got to realize which of these guys is a top star that Vince sees in order to really take this belt, you know. And
that's only Drew McIntyre then. If it's a top star we're talking about, that's only Drew McIntyre.
And that's unfortunate, you know.
Because then the other 4th guy that I see is Sheamus. Those are the only 4 guys on this roster that could either be mid top tier stars or legit top tier stars, and that's it. That's only 4 people.
I love me some Sheamus.
What I like to see, I mean, Lop, I kind of brought this up yesterday. Not yet. Well, I don't know if it was yesterday, but I said something about Roman and Ricochet.
Yeah.
I don't think that would really ever work. I think I would love to see some kind of underdog story with Ricochet, but at the end of the day, and this is no slight to Ricochet, and this is no slight to anything like that, but like, would we really see Ricochet beat Roman Reigns at this point in Roman Reigns' career and reign? No, we wouldn't. I would love it, but it just wouldn't happen. And then after that, those are really the only 5 guys on this roster that are legitimate guys to go up against Roman. And that's not enough. And some of them we've seen before. So it's not like what's next for Roman Reigns and his Universal Championship reign is very shaky up until WrestleMania. Because now, at Survivor Series, we all thought The Rock, well, not all of us, but a lot of people thought The Rock was coming in because, oh yeah, The Rock 25, of course he's coming in. That didn't happen. The Rock was actually never booked to be on Survivor Series, if you guys haven't even heard that yet. Anthony, I actually think I heard that from you, quite frankly.
I thought that with all of the promotion that they were doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people who is kind of irritated that he didn't show up to the show that they were hyping him up with, because they never promoted and said, like, oh, he's going to come. I thought he was going to be more of a surprise. But I thought with
they never promoted it and they were never booked.
Yeah, I thought with all of
he was never booked
that they would get The Rock in there somehow, you know, because it made sense, because it's been 25 years since his debut. Like, why not? But, you know, it is what it is. I thought that definitely could have gotten them at least over the hump to some degree going into WrestleMania. Like, you have this, get the Xavier Woods stuff maybe out of the way, get that for the next couple of months, and then...
Do you think we see Xavier at day 1 with everything going on right now, or is it something else?
I think so. It makes complete sense. I'm really hoping that they make him up to be a bigger deal because in the last few years they have not made King of the Ring a big deal. King of the Ring used to be like you get King of the Ring, you're made to be a big deal. You get into like the mid card title scene, and you get into the world, title scene, like guys like Bret Hart, Edge, Lesnar. They haven't really been doing that, and I think that they need to make him at least somewhat of a viable threat, and that could at least get him over the hump until WrestleMania. But that's a guy I'd love to see take the title from him because that would be
Xavier.
Like, I think so because I mean they're having him, do this whole feud with the Bloodline, and I think that he's the only one out of the team that hasn't won a world title, and I think having that be a storyline to motivate him to get to that next step, and then having like maybe Roman be like, you're the weakest link, you're the Jannetty of the group, like you suck, I think would be awesome storytelling from an underdog standpoint.
Well, if you heard me name those 5 guys, and with the Xavier Woods situation, I guess that's 6. That's not a lot of star power to get Roman Reigns through the hump until WrestleMania. I'm gonna be completely honest right now. We're not getting Rock and Roman at Mania. I highly doubt it at this point. If we were getting Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, it wouldn't happen at Survivor Series.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think what WWE has been really banking on these past few years, and I hate it. They've been banking on the formula that they use with Cena and Brock. Roman wins the match, and then he turns and looks, and someone comes out, and it's like a return from 15 years ago. So it's like, I think they're more so depending on returns and stuff like that.
The part-timers and all that. When you should be focusing on younger stars.
Yeah, it's like I know 9 times out of 10 this will never happen because of his movie schedule too. Before a split second, I thought they were gonna have Batista come back, just to say Roman beat Batista too. He beat the Animal. That was I thought the way they were going. So now it's more so you are in a position where I'm really dead with his character because every person that you listed, he's just gonna beat him. You guys know if he gets a match with Jeff, I'm gonna be jumping on top of my couch, but I'm gonna cry when he beats him. So it's like there's no more hope anymore. There's no more suspense. There's no more what if. It's just like Roman wins, LOL, and then we go on to the next match. And now that's what's killing the show for me. That's what's killing WWE for me because I get mad when people like Big E get consistently put in tag team matches and meaningless stuff on Raw, but Roman doesn't get that same treatment. And the only time he really gets like somewhat of the equal treatment is when the match is like getting right to that point of hype where you have to sell it and like maybe he just might beat him, and then the show comes and Roman wins again. So it's like there's no reason for me to watch, and there's no reason for me to even do predictions and stuff because it's Roman gonna win again. And if this goes on for another year, all it's gonna do, I know his fans are gonna be over the hill. That's their favorite wrestler, but me in my own self, I'm not gonna want to watch the shows anymore because I don't want to watch Roman win for 2 years. I just don't. I don't even know if I want to see anybody win for that long. I think people asked me before, what if Jeff was in the same position? I don't want to see Jeff win every match for 2 years. Why am I watching the show? He can be my favorite all he wants. You're taking away from the surprise of the show. You're taking away from the suspense, the thing that made me a fan of maybe this might happen. Like I remember when I was watching the old Cena and Umaga matches. Umaga was very, very, very close to beating Cena. He damn near killed Cena in that match. So it's just like all of that stuff, like all of my favorite wrestlers, all the matches they've been in. Even the best match, in my opinion, the best match of Roman Reigns' championship run was the SmackDown one against Daniel Bryan. That was beautiful. And
that was the last match Bryan had in WWE.
I thought Bryan was going to win. Roman winning by guillotine, that was like a dominant win. That's what I like. But then when the interferences came in, and then the narrative switched from people next to beat Roman, it was just like next for Roman to smash. It wasn't even like a thing anymore. Then he beats Brock, and I'm like, okay, we're done now. So even if Dwayne came back, as much as it would have been cool to see him, he's gonna lose too, you know.
Now,
so why am I watching?
I do want to bring up the not Brock Lesnar, Jesus. I want to talk about the Rock situation again, because I see Corbin in the chat, and he said Rock versus Roman should happen at WrestleMania 39. You guys have known what I've been saying about Rock and Roman doing it now instead of the future, because listen, Rock's not going to be here that much longer when it comes to in-ring wise. At that point, Rock would be 50. Rock would he's obviously, as we all know, a huge movie star, and how everything's been going down. I don't even think it's arguable at this point. He's pretty much the biggest box office attraction when it came to Hollywood and the movies and all that. So I said, you either have to do the Rock and Roman thing now, or you just don't do it at all. And that's why I said WrestleMania 38 would probably just be the best bet scenario. And with him being 25 years in the ring, it would just be, not in the ring, but 25-year anniversary. It would just be perfect to do it at that point. Yes, I know WrestleMania 39 is in Hollywood, and that would make the most sense, because it's in Rock stomping grounds in a way. But I don't know. Like I was saying, you either do it now or you don't do it at all. And then Corbin said right after, Roman would lose the championship at that point, because Rock and Roman doesn't need the championship. That I agree with.
Yeah.
Rock and Roman doesn't need a championship
At all.
You don't need it.
I gotta take off, y'all.
All right, my man.
I'll catch y'all. Have a good night. Catch y'all, chat. Good night, y'all.
So yeah, it doesn't need the championship, and we all know that. I think we can all agree on that. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, do you guys really think that it's like honestly a crunch time for Roman and Rock to face off, or do you really want to wait for WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood, because it will be the bigger stage instead of Texas in April of this year? Well, next year.
I personally am at the point where I agree with you, Phil. It needs to happen if it's going to happen, because The Rock is not a young guy anymore, and if
he looks great for his age, don't get me wrong.
No, yeah. But like he will even admit himself, like his time in the ring is not that long anymore. Yeah. But like, especially with movies and everything, like I remember back when he competed at like WrestleMania, the last couple of WrestleManias against Cena, I think he injured himself in one of the matches, yes, and they had to postpone filming for a long time. And so like, there's production companies that are going to be like, you can't be doing this anymore. And he's going to pick obviously the movies because they're making him the most money. So it's one of those situations where like conflict between that and, WWE and making sure that everything is okay. It's one of those things where it's like, if it's not going to happen now with the potential story of like Rock, being 25 years in the business and the whole of that stuff, making a surprise return, and,
he was really the Tribal Cheif and all that.
And then the whole relationship with the family and the Anawahi thing, like that would have been great storytelling. And I think that would have been like the perfect cap on this whole Tribal Cheif thing. But I just don't think it's going to happen anymore if they're not going to do it like now. I don't want to wait a year and then have him do a bunch of rematches against other people, because looking at the SmackDown roster, there's not anybody like that's a viable threat. Like who are you going to have? Mansoor and like, Angel Garza.
Unless we do another shakeup or a complete draft again.
Like it's just not going to happen. There's not anybody there. And this is the main problem that I have with SmackDown right now, and why you know, a lot of people probably are getting sick of Roman because he is the center and the only reason why a lot of people watch that show.
That's me. That's me. I'll be completely honest. That's me.
And he's a great character, and don't get me wrong, like WWE always likes to center their shows around people. So you had like when Cena was popular and on Raw during the Ruthless Aggression era, you centered the show around him. You centered Raw around Stone Cold during the Attitude Era. But the difference was that you had other things to care about. When you had Stone Cold being the center, you had The Rock, you had Undertaker, you had Kane, you had all of these different tag teams that you can watch and care about. Attitude or Ruthless Aggression Era, you had, you know, all of these other characters. You had other people to care about and other reasons to watch the show. With Roman, and SmackDown, yeah, you have that going on, but like you don't have a lot of tag teams anymore for me to care. You don't have a lot of the women that I care about anymore. Like there's just not a lot looking at the roster that I really care about. The stuff with Shinsuke is awesome, you know, but that is eventually going to end. Like there's not a lot for me to give anything to want to watch the show anymore.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about it, because it's like they've had so many chances for them to do something to where you take the title off of Roman and he still looks strong in that sense. But as far as Rock and Roman goes, that just like everyone has said, that match doesn't need to it doesn't have to be for the championship, only for that simple fact of they can make the whole Tribal Cheif thing much more important than it already is, because they're fighting for the family, and I feel like their family is going to be more important than a championship. You feel me? No, like as prestigious as they're trying to make the Universal Championship, the family thing is still the main thing that this is built up around. That's how it started, so that's how it should end. If you have Rock and Roman should win and retire Rock, because if you have this match go over for the Universal Championship, whether it happens this year or next year, it's going to turn into a Rock and CM Punk situation, to where CM Punk was on a long championship reign and he did not need to lose, and then Rock goes and beats him, and that championship run, all the thing that led to was the Cena match, you know. So it's like, why are we even going through this? You know, why are we even building all of this up for it to be just like the CM Punk thing? To Rock didn't need that championship. Right? No. That was one of the most weirdly placed championship runs I've seen in my life, because all it did was build up a match for a rematch against Cena. You know, so Rock shouldn't be the guy to take the championship off of him, because there will be no point. There will be no point in having Roman run through everybody and then have Rock come in, beat him, and you know Rock isn't going to be on the show for that long, and they're not even doing it the way Cena. Cause you can't even compare the Cena and the Rock thing, because they knew Cena was going to be there for these amount of dates, so you could have him be champion for this amount, and then at the end of it, boom, switch it back. We don't know when Rock get called for Jumanji 17, he gonna leave, you know. Yeah. So it's just like some fucking Kevin Hart movie, he's gone. So it's like he still has the belt. So now you just took away from Roman again.
Yeah. And Rock's not gonna put on the matches like Cena and Edge are going to. Like, that's one of the biggest things I respect about a guy like Edge, is that when he does a program, he's there every week. Yeah, he's not wrestling every week because, you know, he doesn't want to, and especially with his previous health issues, he knows that he shouldn't do that. Same thing with Cena, you know, but he's there every week, you know, and this is the problem with guys like, you know, Brock during his first Universal title reign and WWE Championship reigns, and guys like The Rock. They're not going to be there every week because WWE ain't going to pay all that, you know, so you're wasting the title not being on the show every week. You know, and I think that I definitely think that Roman and Rock should not be for the title. I think that this is such old wrestling like booking where it's a big match, it needs to be for the title. No, it doesn't, because if the storyline makes sense, you don't have to have it. They made the whole storyline of Rollins versus Edge a big deal for SummerSlam, and they had 3 banger matches. None of that was for a title, and you just had a storyline that everybody got invested in, and that's entirely what wrestling is. in my opinion, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love wrestling, and I think that titles are very awesome as a vehicle for people, but titles are nothing more than a prop. It's storyline that gets people hooked in, and I
Yes.
think that, and that's part of the issue that I have with the wrestling shows now, and why I think a show like AEW is doing so well, because you have 2 championships that these guys can go for that are not tag team titles, and you're giving guys like MGF, he's getting over, and he hasn't won a title at all in the 2 years that he's been on that program. They're showing that you don't need a title to get over, and that's something that I think that WWE needs to do. They need to give me a reason why these characters are important and why I should tune in every week to watch them, not just because they're champions, and some of them get it, but a lot of the guys, especially on SmackDown, like Andrew Garza and, some of the other guys, they're very talented people, but they're not given a chance to shine for the most part, because they're not getting put in any of storylines that actually show their characters and show their personalities. They're just guys who wrestle. And that's one of the biggest issues with WWE that I have, is that these characters are just wrestlers. I think that they need to have more to their characters besides just the fact that they wrestle. When we look back at some of the greatest characters, like, there was more to them besides just, oh, they're wrestlers. I probably sound like
No, hey, go off. Trust me, we don't mind having long opinions or anything like that, because honestly, the way that you explained it was perfectly said, and you had some great points. Now, Laf, you've heard me, and when I think Roman is most likely going to lose this championship. Anthony, I don't know if you've heard yet, but to me, and I know it seems really drawn out, and I know it seems a really long time in process, but you give somebody the time to build them up for the SummerSlam of next year to take the title off of Roman, and you're set. SummerSlam 2022, I feel, would be the perfect place to do it, mainly because it's after WrestleMania, it's after April, so hey, May, June, July, August, it may seem 4 months after, but and it sucks that we've had over 120 some odd people leave the company over the past few years, because over those 120 people, you can have some great stars to get to Roman, and if they had to lose, they had to lose to get to SummerSlam. But hey, building up a guy like a Keith Lee for SummerSlam in 2022 to beat Roman would have been great. Building somebody up like a I had somebody else, but definitely a Keith Lee. Definitely a Keith Lee for a match with Roman at SummerSlam 2022 would have been great, because we all know what happened between Roman and Keith Lee at that Survivor Series. I mean, come on now. That was just great. But now we're in the situation where all those 120 plus people are gone, and now we're in the state of flux where we just don't know where things are going on. Final question here before we get the hell out of here. I already pretty much said it. SummerSlam 2022 would be the best destination for me to have him lose the title. Where's your thought process on that? Even if you had that kind of idea to where it goes from there, because again, August 2022 is a long time away. Or do you think WrestleMania would be the perfect place to do it if they built up somebody?
So I think that your idea of doing it at SummerSlam would be a good idea, because they typically have that in like August or so, and he won it in August, so you could totally do a thing where he's reaching that 2-year mark and making it a big deal. I personally think that what they need to do, and this is little fantasy booking, and hopefully they have the same mindset as me. I think that they need to be doing dissension. When you have a stable like this that's giving everybody somewhat of a, this is a vehicle for Roman, definitely. But I think you need to highlight and give somebody else a chance. And I think that they push somebody to be a bigger deal. And they've shown a little bit of it and tested the waters with a guy like Jay and seen that he can maybe be a pretty good single wrestler. I think what they need to definitely do is start the dissension of the bloodline and start to, show cracks, give a little bit of a reason, maybe even repeat some people, but have them do like a little dissension and really just kind of show the cracks of like maybe getting under Roman's skin a little bit to where maybe they get a match at SummerSlam and then Jay wins it. And then you build up this new star that you would have never have seen.
Even thought to go and beat Roman.
Because I mean, the thing about it was when I look back at something like Evolution, that was entirely a vehicle for Triple H. And you had guys, toil in the mid card or the tag team scene from that group as well. But then they did it as a way to give a new star in Randy Orton. Now, I think that they totally messed that up around the end of it, but it started off as a great vehicle for him to break apart from the group and then get into his own. And I think that they need to do that with somebody like Jay because he's already proven he can deliver great matches as a single wrestler and he can be a good character. So, have, him and his brother start to, break apart from the group a little bit, and just have them do something along those lines,
Yeah.
I think that would be great because then you can get them away from Roman. Roman can then go off and do his own little thing and then, build up a new star. I think that that's the problem is that they're putting their eggs in so many in just the one basket. So they're making all of it on Roman, but they're not building anybody else up, and that's really where I think fans are getting annoyed with this character, so I don't disagree with Loft on that, or even you, Phil, as to why this run's been kind of ending on a sour note because they're not giving any other reason besides just making Roman look strong, which is always their freaking goal point. And they're not giving guys like Cesaro more chances or doing something else with him. They're not doing things else with Finn Balor. They're not giving anybody else a chance besides just making him look strong. And I think that's the biggest issue with WWE booking that I have is they're just banking all on one person and then not helping anybody else.
Yeah. Well, same question goes to you. If you had to choose a point in time, I know you'd probably say right now, just lose it. Just lose it right now. But if you legitimately had to say like an actual pay-per-view event for Roman to lose it, where's your best bet destination in order to do it? And I saw in one of the comments they said Bray Wyatt. You were talking to me about Bray Wyatt earlier. I know Bray's not ever coming back to WWE. I don't think he'll ever will. But the way that you laid out a storyline for Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns, it looked pretty fire.
I think we're off camera when we were talking about that.
Yeah, we were off camera. If you want to talk about it, go ahead. I mean, Anthony is right here. We got the chat. If you want to say it, go ahead.
All right.
But the best place to do a Roman losing the title.
This isn't my scenario anymore because I believe Bray's never coming back to WWE. Unfortunately, I'll tell you who I think is going to win after this. But my whole thing was, I'm sure everyone remembers when Roman and Bray were doing their feud and they were doing the whole anybody but Roman kind of thing. You could easily have no more Fiend because I feel like the Fiend stuff is given to Alexa, then they ran into the ground. We're done with that. The easiest way you can bring Bray back is have him with the original character. Don't really allude to it. Keep it as secret as you can, and have him be the person that is always like Roman's still winning the matches, but Bray is always there. You know, you always see him there, and Roman is like remembering. Roman is remembering the whole feud thing. So it's like every week Roman will come out, and then Bray will do like the little effects. Like you remember he used to put like the maggots on the ring and do like just like mind games and play it for a long time. You have to do this for a long time so it really gets into Roman's head, and then just to start taking people out. So it's like he starts to mess with the Usos, then the Usos get taken out of the equation. Then he starts messing with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman gets taken out of the equation, and it's just a slow decline. And then you have certain segments to where Bray is. You never really see Bray, but you have him pointing out all of the small points in Roman's career to like he's using when he got booed at the Rumble, or when Cena's beating him in promo, like he's just picking small things to like pick at him and slowly rip strips off of the character until eventually you have a match at WrestleMania to where Bray wins. Because I feel like Bray's first WWE Championship run, I think that was like in the Chamber. I think,
yep,
it was good. I remember that first promo. I think it was on SmackDown. That first promo when he won the championship, it was awesome. The crowd was in it, and he was just so happy. And then I don't remember anything happen afterwards, you know? So this could be an easy way to give all that power to Bray. And Bray his character was having the whole world in his hands. So he has the whole universe. And I feel like in my head, it plays out. But unfortunately, we can't do that. So that's just me thinking, but whatever. Realistically wise, I'm going eventually with this person. He's on NXT at the moment. I think he's going to lose the championship that he has eventually. You have him come out at number 30 at the Rumble, and you build up a match between Roman Reigns and Carmelo Hayes. I think Carmelo Hayes has it. There's definitely a big size advantage. Roman's like 6'3". Melo got to be, I guess, 6 foot maybe. And people probably don't even see Melo as someone that can beat him. But I think he has the same energy that Cena had. He's an amazing wrestler. He can talk. The whole Trick Williams thing that can be
5'10", 210.
Yeah. So like already there's like a David and Goliath kind of thing, like a Rey Mysterio and Batista kind of thing going on there, to where him beating Roman would be more of a feat in itself, not only taking the championship from him, but from the quote unquote smaller guy beating the bigger guy. But I think having Carmelo win the Rumble, come in number 30, and then beat him at a WrestleMania would be a great way to build up another young star and have Roman still have a lengthy reign. But the only thing I'm scared about that, even if they go that route with having a young guy win the Rumble, I feel like Roman's just going to beat him, and then that's just another guy who was on NXT and is going to get buried under the roster. So it's a really hit or miss situation. You either have Carmelo in the match and win, or don't have him at all, because now you are risking one of the best characters, I think, in NXT and one of the best wrestlers in the company right now, in him. Because I just think he has it. That may be just me, but I think he has.
No, Carmelo is great. I love Carmelo. That would be crazy. That would be crazy if Carmelo Hayes just came out of nowhere, beat Roman. But, and to be completely honest, I really don't know how people would go about that. If people would like it or if people would hate it.
It would have to be built up in like an underdog kind of thing, because like it'll have to be built up as like a Daniel Bryan kind of thing, just having this guy consistently get beaten down by quote unquote the authority. Obviously they're not on TV anymore, but just he's being held down and then finally gets to the top at that WrestleMania and gets it, because I just think he has it. I just think he has.
Well, with the way Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are going at it right now, I mean, they are pretty much the authority.
I hate
just holding people down.
Which is, dude, that the whole storyline with them is just so weird. I think. Yeah. I mean, they completely just dropped the whole thing with Naomi, didn't they? Like,
Yeah.
with her, like, they had like one match and they completely dropped that because I don't think I ever heard anything else from that.
To be completely honest, yeah, I mean they have, and I mean,
what's weird to me too is like I remember Adam when the build-up for Summer Survivor Series was coming up, and he was picking, and like the teams got picked, and then he like took Dominic off of it.
Yeah.
And then they did that whole thing. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then like I got to thinking after we did the live, I was like, wait a minute. He's on both Raw and SmackDown. So like, wait, what do you mean he's like picking people for Raw? Like wait,
why does he want Raw to win, and all of a sudden he's on SmackDown and saying he wants SmackDown to win? Like it was
like if one of them was on each brand, like it would make more sense. But they're on both shows, so I'm like,
yeah,
what exactly is going on with them? But yeah, going back to like who I think that I definitely agree with how Roman should lose. I think that it could definitely work for SummerSlam, doing a whole like 2-year thing. But I also can agree with Laughlin on the fact that like an NXT person coming and debuting at the Rumble would be a great way of doing it. I know a lot of people have like talked about like Braun Breaker and doing that whole thing. I just think that he hasn't been on NXT for long enough to where I think that would make sense. At least
Braun needs more time.
From like a Rumble standpoint, I definitely think that Braun should take the title from Tommaso Ciampa after a little bit of time, and then he should just go to the main roster and maybe be the one to, be Roman. I think
Ciampa and Roman have been, yeah. Ciampa wants to face Roman, and he said that.
Cool.
He's also said that countless times.
I know somebody brought up Walter. I think that'd be a banger match, and he's already dominant as it is. But
yeah.
I don't know if they're willing to do that because how many people can we really honestly say from NXT UK that's not Walter? Not very many people. So
I'd say Ilya Dragunov is number 2 to me.
Yeah.
And that's even stretching it.
Like, I'm not as big into that, but I know Walter and him because of the fact that he beat Walter. So like Walter's at the center of that brand right now. So I just don't think that they're wanting to do that as much as they probably would like to. Once again, booking a show around just one person and not being able to make certain decisions because of that. But yeah, no, I think that an NXT call-up would be really good. If Gargano re-signs and they're willing to like let him go onto the main roster, and
December 3rd,
that would be awesome because that would be a little person versus big man match, and that would be a banger. But once again, WWE is known for promoting the heck out of it, making it seem like they get a chance, and then just boom, like Roman wins, lull, and then that's the only thing that I have an issue with. I think this is his best run, but it's giving me shades also of like all of the times where they want to make him look strong and why so many fans have hated him. Because I remember it was entirely after the SummerSlam thing, I noticed like so many people were starting to hate on him again. And we're like, oh my God, Roman's winning again, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, you guys were just liking him a couple weeks ago. Like what changed,
Right.
And hearing it from Luff's perspective too, like it makes a lot of sense as to why fans are hating him again.
It's a crazy ride. We're still here for it though, because I mean, Roman's champion. We can't really do anything about it until something does happen. I just really wanted Keith Lee. I mean, Keith Lee probably would have been a bit like you had the story right there with Survivor Series and all that. I mean, I don't know if you guys really even agree with me on that point with Keith Lee. I mean, I think Keith would have been great, but we're just here for it, and we're going to be here for it for a while, whether that's at WrestleMania, whether that's at SummerSlam, or heck, whether we're here for the next 7 years talking about Roman Reigns and the Universal Championship and trying to beat Bruno Sammartino's reign as champion. Please. Yeah. Never again. It's gonna happen, guys. Like, listen. Once they finally find someone to harness all this power, this godlike power that Roman Reigns exudes right now. As soon as that happens, it's a matter of what happens after. Because once somebody beats Roman, like Anthony said, then we're trying to figure out, all right, how are they going to be with the championship? Because if they lose in a matter of a month afterwards, after beating Roman, then what the fuck was the point? So we got to figure out who it's going to be. Once that happens, first of all, James Ellsworth is not going to be the one to do it. So I'm sorry, Corbin. That dream is not going to happen.
Yeah, the company after all the controversies he's had.
I don't even know where the heck James Ellsworth is right now, but
he's competing on the indies right now.
Oh, cool.
But he's a shit. Yeah, no, he's gotten into a couple controversies talking with some underage people. So.
Oh, yeah. No, we're not gonna go into any further of that. But yeah, guys, that's it. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow for AEW Dynamite and the review on that. Anthony, again, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on now Wednesday morning. But hey, it was a fun time talking about this Roman stuff with you. Loff, it's always a pleasure having you, my man. I mean, come on now. I mean, you're officially signed. I mean, I signed you to AEW a couple of days ago. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Anthony, do you have anything else to say before we get the hell out of here and we can have a good rest of the night?
Yeah, no, it was great. Back over the last year and a half that he's been champion, or however long, the last 400 something days. It's been good looking over. I like looking at different perspectives. Yeah, it's been good talking with all of you. It's been a great couple of hours.
Loff, it's all you, my man. What's going on?
Hey, this is a really good conversation. Anthony, it was great seeing you again. This is good. This is exactly what I imagined this conversation to be. I was worried. I didn't know how it was going to go, but Phil, being the amazing host that he is,
thank you.
had a really good talk going for almost 2 hours. So, yeah, man. Thank y'all for watching, and see y'all tomorrow for AEW. I'm actually excited. Phil, my thing got rescheduled so I can watch the show. So I'm very excited.
Oh yes. Okay. Good.
Watch the show tomorrow.
Good, my man. How was it seeing Kiera Hogan tonight on Dark?
She is great. And I love her so much. That'll be all.
And Loff, I'm telling you right now, man. I mean, I know Notorious Mimi. She got her ass kicked tonight by Kiera Hogan. But hey, I met her at 2, not just 1, but 2 independent wrestling shows in here in Connecticut. And man, she is great. She is fantastic. She is a great person, let alone a professional wrestler. So hopefully they continue to use her. She's 0-2 in AEW, but I have faith. Come on, Kiera. Come on, Kiera. Yes. Come on, Notorious Mimi, and come on, Tony, because Notorious, she deserves it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow for AEW. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on again. We'll see you next Tuesday if you're down. It's just going to be another week of professional wrestling. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out. Have a good rest of the night. Peace. Nope.